Hi guys, Gigi here. This video is going to be a little bit different from the videos I've been making, and will be still something technical, and I hope you will enjoy it. It's about the inverter you can see here, the Deye 12 kilowatt hybrid inverter, and my experience with it for the past 14 months. As I could not find any in-depth reviews on the internet, I've decided to make one for you. Maybe somebody can use my feedback in making the decision to buy or not to buy one of these inverters. You are going to hear about the pros and cons about this inverter, and why I bought this inverter. The main criteria for me was a three-phase inverter. I needed a three-phase inverter that can run with low voltage batteries, and it should be a hybrid inverter. Yeah, hybrid inverter on grid with low voltage batteries. And after much research, it took me about half a year for deciding what to buy. Looking on the internet, I've came upon the Deye. So, as I said, one of the standout features of this Deye 12 kilowatt hybrid inverter is that it's one of the very few three-phase hybrid inverters available on the market that can efficiently run with low voltage batteries. In fact, I was trying to find a three-phase inverter that support low voltage batteries for quite a while, and my options were very limited. And while doing the research, I only found a handful of inverters that can that have this feature. Another nice feature that we can actually see here, it's the user-friendly touchscreen. And as we can see, we have a very nice touchscreen that can show me what's exactly happening at this moment. The inverter is on. I am producing 3.5 kilowatt power at this moment. I am sending to the grid 2.4 kilowatt. My battery is at 100%, and I can see the smart function is activated. We are going to talk about this a little bit later. So the touchscreen, you can see it here. Escape, settings. This is a very nice feature. I have a touchscreen, and I can go through the settings and see see the status of my inverter. But on this front page, it's very nice. It will show you the production, how much you push to the grid, the consumption in the house, and the battery status. Another thing that I like about this inverter, it's the fact that it's compatible with wide range of batteries, low voltage batteries, from lead acid, AGM, and lithium phosphate batteries. Right now I am running lithium phosphate on a BMS. I can see my battery, it's 100%. If I go here, I can see the state of charge. I can see how much it's drawing, and I can see here the voltage on my batteries. The next good feature on this inverter, it's the programmable solar power selling capabilities and settings. So you can choose to sell, not to sell, when and how. Let's see here, we go to the system work mode, and here we have the primary system work mode screen, where if I select selling first, it will sell all the energy that can get without capping it. So let's see, now I am producing 2.7 to the grid 1.6. If I go into the system work mode and say selling first, accept, confirm, and go out, it will start selling all what it can, and it will also start from the batteries. So as we can see, it's taking all the solar and taking from the batteries and pushing 8 0.6 kilowatt to the grid. I don't want to sell my batteries right now because it's cloudy outside, and I will go back to the zero export to CT and escape. In this mode, zero export to CT and solar cell, that means the inverter will export whatever power it has extra to the grid. So it will cover my house load, it will charge my battery at 100%, and when the battery is at 100%, it will start selling power to the grid. So we can see if the sun is shining more, I will start selling more to the grid. Then if I want to cover only my load, it will cover my load and then sell everything else. The load on my load port, because this inverter has two extra ports, and one of them is the load port, so we can see it will sell everything that it gets, but covers my load port, which right now I have a very small load, 205 watts on the load port. I'll go back and say zero export to CT, because I need to cover all the consumption in my house, not only the load port. As we can see, the house gets 1.1 kilowatt and the rest is sold to the grid. The other feature that I like a lot, it's the smart thing. As I said, the inverter has two auxiliary ports, one for the UPS, so to load, to use as a UPS, and one it's for the generator input or smart load. What that smart load does is it will generate power when your battery reaches 100%, and it will start, it will continue generating power until your battery goes to the off setting. So I said, when my battery is 100%, start the auxiliary port, send power to that port until the battery reaches 88%, and then stop. And this is a nice feature because I have a water heater connected to the port, and when I want to have, instead of just selling the extra power, I will use that to heat my water. So this is a very nice feature. The same port can be programmed as a generator input or as a microinverter input, but I'm using it as a smart load. I will show you the ports and everything else in a few minutes. Next smart feature on this inverter is the time of use. So we go to the settings, system work mode, and this page here, it's showing me the time of use. What that means is I can program the inverter to charge or discharge the battery up to down to a certain level between the hours I have scheduled. So right now I've set it to be able to go as low as 20% on the battery between all the hours of the day. So this schedule is 24 hours. It does not have to supersede 24 hours. So you can set it from 0 to 0, but you cannot go from 0 to the next day. So this will not work. So I said from 0 to 2 o'clock, battery can go as low as 20%. If I don't want to discharge the battery, let's say for example I want, when I come home at 4 o'clock, to have battery enough battery to use. So I will go here and say between 13 and 16, do not go lower than, let's say 57%. Okay, cancel. And now the inverter will try to keep the battery over that percentage. We go here, system work mode again. So I can also say grid charge, and it will charge my battery from the grid between 13 to 16 up to 57%. I don't want that because right now it's summer and I want to let it go down to 20%. I will have enough sun next day to charge from the sun. This is a nice feature when, for example, you want to buy power from the grid. You know that the next day will be expensive, or in the night it's expensive, then you charge the battery in the day, or if it's expensive in the day you will set it up to charge the battery in the night, for example from 11 p.m. to 0, or from 0 to 2 o'clock, charge the battery up to 100% from the grid. And so I want to go here and say from 0 to 2 o'clock, charge my battery from the grid up to 100%. So give it full blow and it will do just that. Any setting that I want to save, I have to press the confirm button here. If I say escape, it will not save the setting. Another important factor for me when I purchased this inverter was the number of strings that I can connect to the inverter, and this one has 3 PV input ports. On the PV1 you can go up to 26 amps in current and 800 volts. On the PV2 you can go up to 13 amps and 800 volts. So PV1 supports 2 strings in parallel, and PV1 supports 1 string, and I have 2 strings on the south and 1 string on the west. As we can see, if I click on the panels, I can see exactly how much it's generating, and I'm going to disconnect one of the panels on the south, so the amperage should go to half. .4, 4.9. We can see it's 5 amps. And let's try to disconnect the other panel, the other string on the south. Disconnected, amperage going to half, same voltage, and you can see that it's reflected in the voltage and in wattage. Anyway, if we are here at the smart display, let's see how this works. Here you can see a general overview of what you have on the load, grid, PV1, PV2 and the battery. Go to the advanced functions. Here I've set a marker here, BMS error stop. So if there is an error on the BMS, the inverter will stop charging or discharging the batteries, and it will stop itself. That means if any BMS error happens, it will not damage the batteries. This is a very nice feature. On the battery settings, I can set the battery to use lithium or voltage or percent or no battery at all. Charge, amperage, current and discharge, how much I want to charge and discharge the batteries with, how much it should charge from the grid, only with 40 amps I would say, and it will start charging at 20% if it goes so much. Lithium 0, that means self-adapting to lithium BMS. It will find itself the type of battery that you have. If I have the battery at 15%, it will trigger me a low battery warning, and at 10% it will shut down. Again, on the advanced functions, if I want to connect the wind turbine on the PV strings, I can set some voltages and amperages and stuff like that. I didn't play with this, but I think it's a nice feature for somebody that wants to connect the wind generator. Then here I can set if I want my device to be in parallel with another one and should act as a master or as a slave. And if I have an external smart meter, I can select it here, and the type of meter supported right now, it is E-Stron or synth. So I have a Eastron and I will say escape. Grid functions are not so important, or yeah, should I say, not. It's general settings for the grid in my country. Under the device info, I can see the last errors, the firmware, and the flash version I am running with. All these errors occurred because I was playing around with the batteries and with the grid last night. And that should be it on the menu, to say so. That's important for you. Let's see if we have something more here. Yeah, when the time of use should be used in each day. But the menu is very simple and smart, and I like it. For the grid, I can see the power, how much I sell, how much I buy from the grid, voltage, current, and here I can see what I've sold for this month, for this year, and today. We go back. For the house, I can see the energy used in the house, and again I can see for the month, for the day, for the total, and so long. Panels we saw. We go to the energy, the same thing. Battery, lithium BMS, information about the batteries, and voltages. And here on the on button I have a general overview. Now for the next phase, I'm going to open the panel under the inverter to show you the ports and what we have down there. Looking down under the cover, we can see two battery ports with quite some solid terminals. We have covers so we don't touch the terminals by mistake. I have two ports for the parallel connection with other inverters. I have a meter port, I have a Modbus, and I have a BMS port. Then down here I have the CT coils. So this inverter can work both with CT coils and the smart meter. I have both connected, both of these connected. Why? Because in case of failure of CT coils, the smart meter, or yeah, actually the primary is the smart meter, so if the smart meter fails, it will the CT coils will take over. I had some issues with the smart meter connection. That's why you can see all the cables here are I was fiddling with them, and with the newest firmware this problem seems to be gone, so I can actually pack up and make some nice connection here. Then we have the input. One thing that I didn't like about this, it's the ground connection, and the ground connection is not connected to the chassis of the inverter, so you need to make an extra connection from the ground here. Under the inverter there is a screw to make the grounding, and I also took the same ground and run it to the batteries, so I have also the batteries grounded. In the back we can see two ports, one marked with gen, that's the programmable input-output, and we have the load port. The load port is an output, and it will act as an UPS in case of the grid failure. The inverter will still supply power from the batteries through this load port. In terms of PV, let's see if we can go down. I have, yeah, I can show you here too. I have three PV connections. You can see them back there, the red and black cables. Two parallels on PV1 and one single on PV2. And on the right side, this is the communication board with the wireless dongle, as most of the inverters have today. The inverter is capable of taking up to 15,000 watt on the PV side, so you can over panel and use strings on east and west and south and whatever you want the configuration, and it can handle power on the PV side up to 15,000 watts. Of course, there are some cons or features that I am missing. For example, an USB port somewhere here to connect to the inverter and perform firmware upgrades, monitoring, communication with the inverter, and something like that. I think that should be installed, and it's a very nice feature to have. Another nice to have feature would have been the timer programmable smart port. So here I would want to have a timer and say start the smart load between this hour and this hour. I think it will make automatization much more easy for people that will want to use this smart port only in certain times of the day. Another minor con would be the monitoring platform Solarman that's online in the cloud. It's a little bit slow, and it's not it has a delay about 2 minutes or 5 minutes or something like that. I don't remember exactly how. So real-time monitoring platform from Deye would be very nice to have. That's why I've switched over to Solar Assistant, which gives me real-time information on my inverter. Let me set it up, and it's a very nice tool to use with the Deye. So this being said, after 14 months of use, I'm very happy with this inverter. I don't regret investing the money. It's very solid, has many features, well built, service and support is top. So anyone looking for a hybrid inverter with low voltage batteries, I would highly recommend the Deye. Buy it, you will not be disappointed. Until next time, see you guys.